Hey everyone, it's Elizabeth Cronin. I work at NDSU in agriculture communication, and I wanted to share with you a little bit about an Office 365 tool I've been using to get a little more organized. So here I've already logged into my Office 365. You can get here however you normally access your webmail or OneDrive or any other Office 365 app. So when you're logged in, you'll use your NDUS account and probably have to multi-factor authenticate. Um, but you can open your waffle menu and find OneNote as an option here. And you'll see something like this. You can see I have a couple notebooks that I've already created, but we're going to start at the beginning and create a new notebook. You can name it anything you want. I have just one notebook that I use for work, but you could create multiple notebooks if you wanted to get a little more granular for a particular project or maybe a certain aspect of your job that you want to keep track of. But we're just going to keep this one generic. We'll call it work notes and create. Then here it's going to build our notebook. And the neat thing about OneNote is if you're used to organizing files at some point in your life in a 3-ring binder with tabbed sections, or maybe a filing cabinet system, you can kind of create some of that same structure electronically in OneNote. So here's a blank notebook, but we're going to start by adding a section. And this might be in your old 3-ring binder what you would have a tab for a certain topic. Maybe I want something for the department retreat I'm planning for AgCom this summer. So we'll call it retreat planning. And that's one subject. And just like if you got into color coding for anything before, you can do the same thing here. You can give this tab a specific color that makes sense to you, or to help you stay organized, keep all the thoughts together in one category. So here I have a tab for retreat planning, and in my section for retreat planning, I can create any number of pages to keep notes related to different aspects of retreat planning. So maybe I just want one that is a to-do, a collection of my to-dos. So I can add them here, find venue, anything else I might need to do before the retreat. And the neat thing, you can use, this ribbon probably looks familiar like many of the other Office products you've used. So you could add bullets or you could create a list. My personal favorite is to use tags. So I'm going to select these items. I have a lot of things that I use with this little to-do checkbox. And then you can go as you're accomplishing things and check the items that you need. Maybe I need other pages for things that I want. Potential speakers. And I could keep a list of names and their contact information. Another tab or tag that might be useful here, if you like to distinguish what types of things you're saving, you could put a little contact card, and then you always know that that's the name. You could jump through. Maybe if you had a page full of notes, that would be useful. So thinking about other purposes you might use OneNote for at work, maybe you want a section for all the training, any training that you attend, whether that's a webinar or something in person. If you're able to take notes on a phone or computer, you could create a page for anything you attend. Maybe you attend a community of respect training through the Equity and Diversity Office. You could take notes here. You could if you had a tablet with a stylus, you can take notes. You could take notes, handwrite notes on the tablet, and they would show up here under Insert and, oh, I guess it's under Draw. So you could write notes that way. You could take pictures, whether that's of the slides or of some notes that you wrote by hand, and you could stick an image of that in here, and it would always be in one place. And so this is another place where the tags might be useful if you have a lot of text, but maybe there's a book recommendation that you want to save for later. There's a tag for that, so book to read. So you could have that, and that'll just show in that left margin of all your text. So you could go easily and see, like, oh, there's a book rec here that I want to go back to later. So you could put the name of the book there, and maybe explore some of the other tags. Maybe you want a section for meetings. If you have a recurring meeting that your team meets monthly or weekly, you could have notes for each time you meet. This might be useful if you have a shared notebook or if you're using SharePoint. Each SharePoint site has its own notebook, a OneNote notebook. So you could have a page for each meeting. So we have April 21 meeting, and we could put any notes. They could be action items. You could star things as important, or maybe you're planning for the meeting and you have a question and you want to make sure that gets answered at the meeting. You could put that right in your agenda. And then during the meeting, you could pull up your notes and that question is flagged to ask the group or ask your supervisor or whoever you're meeting with. So there's just a couple ideas of where you might use this at work. Anything that is mainly notes would work well. Maybe you're researching something and you want to have some tabs for links to things that you found in your research, or a project where there's a lot of notes. If you're working on a project that also has a lot of files, that might be a better fit to have in SharePoint. Something, if you're sharing it with a group of people, then you can have notes and documents together. So I use this very minimally in my work life, but I use OneNote quite a bit in my personal life, and it just kind of makes things a lot easier. I have 3 young children, and so a busy life. It's hard for my husband and I to stay organized. So we have a shared notebook that we use as a family just to kind of keep all of our family details together. And I have a personal Outlook account that I use for that. If you don't have one, it's easy enough. It's free to create one. Or if you do, you can find it again in your OneNote here. But I did pull some of my personal pages just to show as an example of how you might use it in your personal life. So I'm going to open up, here it shows the different notebooks that I have created. I'm going to open this personal one. My real personal OneNote my husband and I have been using it for years, so it's a lot more extensive than this, but here are the ones sections we use the most often. We have one section just to plan our life, and pages for weekly or monthly or annual things that we want to track to keep, schedules or trips or to-do lists. Mainly it's to-do lists. It seems like there's always a never-ending to-do list at home as well. We have a tab that's just for each week. So I put my meal plan in here and a checklist for things we need to do, and then maybe a longer term project list. One of the most useful ones is our shopping section. I have a grocery, some of the other places that we shop frequently. And that way, so OneNote syncs to your phone really easily. It works very well in mobile. The mobile app works really well. So we always have this with us. So if I'm making breakfast in the morning and we run out of milk, I can add milk to the grocery list. And then if my husband can swing by the grocery store on his way home from work, all of the things that we need are already documented. If he's swinging by, he can check and see, is there anything that I've added? And we don't even have to communicate. It's all right here. So we have tabs for a few other things. My husband keeps a garden journal. We have some travel pages, places we want to go, and sample packing lists. Another use that I've just started playing around with, so I have another notebook created for recipes. It seems like I have cookbooks, but I never use them. Usually we're in a hurry, we're coming up with a plan. I have chicken and I have rice. What can I make with chicken and rice? So I, just do a quick search online and find a recipe that's exactly what I'm looking for. And that's fine if it's a recipe we only make once, but So every once in a while, I find one that's really good and I want to save it. But how do I keep track of all these recipes I found online? I used to email myself links, but then it gets lost in my inbox. I had or bookmark them on my browser, but then I have a whole bunch of bookmarks and I don't really know what's what. So I created a notebook just for recipes, and I have a section for each different category that you might find in a cookbook, or maybe some that are just, make sense to me, a kid snacks tab. And then I can create a page every time I find a recipe. I'll just add a new page, stick in the recipe title. I usually put the link where it came from so I can, give credit. If the recipe turns out really great and people ask for it, I know where it came from. But because a lot of them recipes I find come from blogs, I often also copy and paste the ingredients and directions right in OneNote, so I don't even have to leave and go to a browser or scroll through a bunch of text. Everything I need is right here, and I can pull it up on my phone or on a laptop in my kitchen. And it has just been a handy way to keep the recipes that we use the most often easily available without having to search and try and find what I found before. So I hope that inspired you to come up with some ideas for how you might use OneNote to get organized either at work or in your personal life. Um, I hope you have fun playing around. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email. My email is elizabeth.cronin@ndsu.edu. Thanks for joining us.